Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Michael Levans, Group Editorial Director at Peerless Media, which of course includes Logistics Management and Supply Chain Management Review magazines. And today we're taking a closer look at how third-party logistics providers are using warehouse management technology to stay competitive and strengthen customer relationships. Today, I'm joined by Michael Armanious, and Michael is CEO of Datex, and that's a company that has spent decades working alongside 3PLs. In fact, the Datex team recently published a white paper on how modern WMS can become a true strategic advantage, not just a back-end system. Well, Michael, I'm so glad you can join us today. We're honored to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Absolutely. Now, Michael, before we dive into the technology, let's start like from the top. Michael, from your perspective, can you kind of give listeners a snapshot of what you're seeing in the 3PL market right now? What are some of the biggest pressures, your customers are facing today?
It's a good question. So, like one of the things that we're seeing, especially in these 3PL clients, is that they have less patience, right? So they're
Yeah.
getting a lot of pressure from their customers, and in order to be able to move faster, execute flawlessly, they want to reduce their costs, they want to reduce their revenue leakage, add value. So there's just a lot of different pressure. And part of it is that they can't afford not to deliver. They have to make sure
Right.
that their reputation is not tarnished and they're proceeding forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Clients today, obviously, shippers are expecting more than ever, right? They're looking for speed, accuracy, real-time visibility, right? How do you think this has changed the job of the modern 3PL these days?
Well, there's the modern 3PL, and this is, back in the day, it was, there's a man in a truck or a man in a warehouse, and that was it. Like
Yep.
that's all you needed. And there has to be a willingness to embrace the technology. And the concept and the mindset of this is just a warehouse, we're just storing inventory is kind of going away.
Yep.
3PLs are becoming, more value added centers. They're asked to do more. Customers are putting more demands on them. They have to be more proactive, kind of listening to the clients. And fortunately or unfortunately, depends on the way you look at it, technology is no longer a nice to have. It's becoming the foundation or foundational piece
Right.
of making a 3PL competitive.
Yep, absolutely. Table stakes, right? As we say all the time, we hear that
Right.
quite a bit these days in our reporting. Now let's shift a little bit more in our conversation, a little bit more about, what, shippers are expecting from the 3PLs these days, right? The recent white paper we worked with your team on outlines 5 things every client measures their 3PL against, right? We found that that's, speed, visibility, integration, compliance, and proactive problem solving. Right. Which of those are you think are the most challenging for 3PLs to consistently deliver to today's shipper customer?
Yeah, I mean, out of the five, and I could put some thought into this. So technology at the end of the day does not live in a bubble anymore, right?
Right.
So you have to be integrated into the world. So you have to be able to be connected to e-commerce, shopping carts, parcel carriers, EDI, existing ERP systems,
Hmm.
and so that scalable integration becomes a critical factor for third-party logistics providers
Yep.
nowadays.
Yep.
And then the second thing that I think would, out of those top five, supply chains have become much more complex, right?
Hmm.
So customers have this demand for visibility, and one of the things that is it becomes strictly important is that being proactive with exception management, right?
Right. Right.
Orders change, profiles change, cancellations, returns, so that exception management is critical.
Yep, absolutely. You just hit on and nailed a few of those areas we really cover consistently in our technology coverage, especially when it comes to what 3PLs are putting to work because shippers are a little fickle these days, right? How quickly will a customer, walk if a 3PL can't meet these new expectations? Man, are we in like a no second chances environment today, Michael?
Yeah, like I've said in the beginning of the of this podcast, like everyone's kind of running out of patience, right? So if you
Yes.
think of the world in general, so and one of the challenges that these 3PLs are also facing is that that the barrier for change is not impossible to overcome, right? So
Right.
they,
Hmm.
their customers have a lot of options. So they need to be they at any time really their clients can leave them. So they have to have the ability to kind of capture that their customers, and the way to do it honestly is through some technology.
Yep, absolutely. And that technology, that WMS, as you mentioned before, Michael, is really now a strategic weapon, right? You make the case that, WMS is really no longer just an operations tool. It's become a strategic differentiator, right? The 3PLs are going to use to differentiate themselves. So, but what's changed? What's changed, over that time that WMS has become such a critical part?
Well, the WMS over the years has evolved as well, right? So it's and for a third party logistics provider, the WMS is their focal point, their center of the universe, right?
Hmm.
It's managing, it's keeping their business competitive, it's making them more efficient, allowing for faster decisions, to grow. Think of it as the intelligence hub for their organization.
Yep.
And one of the things that keeps coming up a lot is that you have some, especially with heavily regulated industries, compliance is becoming a bigger issue, and trying to do that on paper or paper and pen or a clipboard is no longer an option, and
Right.
that's becoming a critical piece.
Yep.
And the other thing is that the 3PL's clients, they expect more, right? So they expect the third-party logistics providers to solve problems in real time.
Yep.
It's no longer just moving product. It's how are you going to help me run my business?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Michael, we mentioned that WMS really being the core, the center, right? So what separates an average WMS from one that truly helps 3PLs build stronger customer relationships? What separates 3PS these days? Or, I'm sorry, WMS these days?
Especially in the third-party logistics market, WMSs, there's a lot of them, right, in the
Yeah,
in the, in the marketplace. But
absolutely.
one of the things for a third-party logistics provider is the agility to adapt quickly, right? Customers have requirements, and the challenge with a third-party logistics provider is you might have 10, 15, hundreds of clients in your warehouse,
Right,
in the four walls of your warehouse, and each client has different requirements. So you need to have that ability to adapt, ability
right.
to listen and pivot the workflows, the business rules, how the system is configured, and you want to do that as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
The other thing is looking at having that real time visibility. That's foundational.
Hmm.
Uh, if you're not giving that Amazon treatment to your clients, being able to see the order statuses, their inventory, make real-time decisions at their fingertips, right on from
Yep.
their computer. That becomes that's a huge advantage as well. And then the other thing that from a 3PL perspective now, that's not customer facing, is you have to also have predictable cost controls, because you're providing a service. 3PLs are
Yep.
providing a service. So you want to make sure that you're capturing all the activities of the services that are being rendered, and that becomes critical. So you make sure that you are providing value and you're getting paid for it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Michael, let's go under the hood a little bit of Datex's footprint WMS. Now, your platform was designed specifically for 3PLs, as you had mentioned. So what were the core challenges you built it to solve for 3PLs?
Yeah, we've been in business for, gosh, almost 45 years now, and we've learned a lot over the decades, right? So
Hmm.
we've kind of lived this. We've been in the trenches, working hand in hand with our third party logistics partners. And one of the things that after multiple iterations of our software, is that we needed to build a platform, a foundation that is as flexible as possible, kind of giving the keys and the tools to our 3PLs to be able to do what they need to do, right? So the
Yep.
first thing is we want to make sure that any kind of revenue leakage is squashed, to kind of get rid of that, to make sure that every activity that's being done, whether you're billing for it or not, is being captured and you have a mechanism to track it. The second thing, which is critical for these 3PLs, is quick onboarding.
Yep.
right? They get a new client, they want to start shipping out the door, within a week or within 2 weeks.
Right.
How do we make that, as easy and as seamless as possible to get them onboarded without, a lot of disruptions?
Right.
And the other thing that I just thinking about here is, making sure that we eliminate or at least reduce, integration headaches, right?
Yeah.
We want to
Right.
get all the disjointed data, making sure that the customers are providing the information, we're able to connect to them, and then making sure that like there's that seamless flow of information back and forth.
Yep.
And then finally, the kind of going back to like labor inefficiencies, right? We
Hmm.
want to kind of make sure that people that are working in your facilities as a third party logistics provider are being directed in the right way
Yep.
to minimize the overhead, quite frankly.
Absolutely. And every little bit of help the 3PL can have in keeping that vital labor force happy and growing and in those positions, as you know, I don't think I have to tell anybody on our broadcast today, but that's absolutely vital today. That
Right.
workforce is absolutely necessary. Michael, you've mentioned visibility quite a bit. Now, what about billing accuracy as well, right? Those are two things that can make or break customer trust, that visibility and billing accuracy. Can you give an example of how Footprint improves both of those?
Sure. I mean, the thing is, like, WMS can be fantastic, but if you're not, especially on the 3PL side, if you don't have the mechanism to bill for your services, then it could be the most fantastic WMS, but it doesn't really provide you the value as a 3PL, right?
Right, right.
So what we kind of incorporated in the WMS is a pretty robust billing engine that automates everything. So think of every activity from like pallet building to shrink wrapping to blast freezing in a cold storage environment.
Hmm.
Everything is being documented: when it started, when it ended, how long it took, who did it. So you're not only able to bill for it, but you're able to support it. If a customer says, well, what is this about? What is this service about? You're able to document it and provide the backup.
Yeah.
The other thing is, the ability to track and invoice for value-added services in real time. I
Yep.
can't tell you the number of times that I've had customers come to us and they say, you know what, like we're kind of doing this manually. We're doing this on paper. We're trying to capture this information. And anytime you give a human the ability to bypass a system
Yep.
or to do things on paper, and you're depending on them to do it, you can mark that as lost revenue. So doing that in real time and adding that value-added service invoicing is critical.
Absolutely.
And the automation, right? So at the end of the day, capturing all this activity and being able to bill for it, whether daily, monthly, weekly, it makes, it improves cash flow, quite
Yep.
frankly.
Absolutely. That we shared a stat in the paper, Michael. The 3PLs are uncovering 30% to 40% of missing billable revenue. Wow, that's really hard to believe. That's what's causing these revenue leaks in the first place, right? As you just mentioned, right? It's just, would you account that to manual practices and just those ice cream headaches, right? When you're going, oh my gosh, how do we keep track of all this?
It's humans, right?
Yeah,
Like at the
right,
end of the day, like 30-40% billing leakage, it's human, it's user error or
right,
users not, entering in their information. And when you're dependent on that, you have that variable. So
right.
in order to eliminate that process and that path of least resistance is you need to put some technology in place to be able to avoid that in the first place.
Right, absolutely. Wow, that's an incredible stat. Now let's shift a little bit more towards, managing that complexity, right? Multi-clients, multi-facility operations. You alluded to that a little bit in our conversation already, and the scalability the footprint can bring to a 3PL. Now, many 3PLs, as we know, are struggle to scale because every customer is different, right? Different workflows, pricing models, compliance rules. So how does Footprint handle that complexity without slowing those teams down?
We kind of took a different approach and we tried to unlock in the last several years, the power of the state-of-the-art technology that we're able to tap into. And we've kind of approached this with a low-code, no-code platform,
Yep.
right? So we created Datex Studio, which allows us to have the most flexibility possible to be able to onboard customers, to rethink the way business rules are managed, workflows are managed, And Datex Studio allows us and allows our customers, the 3PLs, to tailor the workflows, to automate their processes,
Hmm.
to onboard their customers. And here's the thing, without waiting on us,
Right.
without waiting on developers, they can do it themselves.
Right.
And putting that power in their hands has been a mission critical.
Yeah, that's going to open a lot of eyes on today's conversation, I can imagine, because so often, anytime you're looking to flex, to change, to scale, that's the first thing you think about is like, how long is this going to take? That's pretty impressive stuff. So, Michael, let's shift a little bit to maybe a short case study or maybe a real world example. I really like the case study. I believe it's Watco that we share in the white paper. Can you walk us through, what they were struggling with up front and then what changed after they implemented Footprint?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm glad you brought up Watco. I mean, the quote that I recall, I think it was from one of their VPs, is that the Footprint WMS, which is our footprint, enables their operation to grow because of its inventory accuracy, efficiency, transparency, and real-time visibility,
Hmm.
and that's critical, right?
Yep.
And Watco's been with us for several years now. They've kind of migrated and updated their systems over the years.
Hmm.
And one of the things that they found, especially as the technology has evolved, is giving this power in their hands, this low code power,
Yep.
to be able to do their own, to kind of set their own destiny has been mission critical for them.
Hmm.
And it's given them the competitive advantage, right? So they have competitors in the industry, and what differentiates them from their competitor, it's the ability for them to adapt and adapt in real
Yep.
time. And that to them was the key differentiator that's not only helped them with their existing business, but it's also helped them gain new business they didn't think that they can win in the past.
Yep. Now, what kind of feedback are you hearing from their customers, or what are you hearing from their operations teams from your work with Watco?
It's funny because it's kind of opened up the realm, right? Like
Yep.
it's given them the ability to, not just, a business growth and inventory accuracy and transparency, but also opened up the realm for automation, for robotics, for adopting AI right into their operations to help them make decisions.
Yep.
So the technology is just kind of a springboard to a lot of this, futuristic or next generation automation and robotics using AI agents as well. And that's
Hmm.
something that we're really excited about.
Absolutely. Well, Michael, we're up against the clock. We have a couple of minutes now. Let's take a little look ahead before we wrap up today. Now, you've said the 3PLs are evolving from warehouses more towards value-added service centers, right? Now, what does that mean for technology investment in the next few years down the road?
So the value added center, so think of a 3PL like, the four walls of a warehouse, but they're starting to add more services, right? So think of the front office type of work. If you're dealing with returns, you're dealing with
Hmm.
customer service. So the 3PLs are being asked to do more and more. And in order to do that, the WMS has become, like, again, the center of the universe, the
Yep.
platform centric type of process. And the other thing that we're seeing, kind of looking at what, where we're going with this as well, is that the decisions need to be further automated, right?
Hmm.
Just using the WMS to be able to capture data and then being able to make decisions on it, on your own via your management team is no longer. It might not be, the wave of the future. There's got to be some real-time analytics, using AI, automation in decision making, which kind of pushes the market further into more real-time decision making processes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Michael, we are up against the clock, so I have time for one more quick question now. And I always like to wrap up our conversations with a question like this. So, for our 3PL leaders listening today, what's one step they can take right now to strengthen shipper relationships using their WMS?
you know, it's the best thing to do is engage with your clients, right? Engage with your clients, discuss technology options, at the end of the day, they are looking to save money in the supply chain. They want to be able to look at where there's some efficiencies. And so if you're kind of looking at this and you become a partner with them in figuring out how to implement something that's mutually beneficial, it kind of goes a long way. And so if you're leading with technology and you're kind of getting into that partnership aspect with your client, you're going to be in the winning seat.
I love it. Great way to wrap this up. Michael Armanious, CEO of Datex. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. Wonderful job and great conversation.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks. I'm going to thank everybody for listening today. Have a wonderful day.